Welcome to the Veil of Unbelief, or our Veil of Unbelief. And I'm Farrell.
And I'm Rhonda Pickering. Of course, that's a quote from Ether, chapter 4 in the Book of Mormon, right?
Right. And this is Book of Mormon, first episode A, 1A, because we're going to do little shorter episodes, hopefully. That's the plan, to do shorter ones, but do as many as we need to cover it. Let's just jump right in.
All right, we've actually got 3 little mini clips that we're going to do today. We're kind of trying to break these up a little bit into shorter pieces for you. But we're covering all of the introductory pages of the Book of Mormon, and so there's so many important things. I'm not going to read them word for word. You've got them, and there are fantastic sites going up this year with aids for Book of Mormon, and I don't want to be repetitive with all of that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pointing out some things that I actually think are super critical that you understand before you begin to read chapter 1, verse 1 of the Book of Mormon. And they come from the introductory pages. So let's just jump right in and first ask ourselves, what is a due time in scriptures? Is that just anytime God decides to? Or is it more like when there's a pregnancy? There is a time that the baby is due.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're coming into that time for the due time of the millennium, which is really cool.
Exactly. And so you notice that our website is www.propheticappointments.com. If you don't know about that, I'm going to be referring to several supplementary materials that are at that website. So just kind of make a marker of that, because the due times are prophetically appointed times, which is the whole name of our website. So let's go ahead and look into the title page of the Book of Mormon and find where it's talking about a due time. The first thing we're going to notice that the Book of Mormon is written to the Lamanites and the Jews and the Gentiles, and the Lamanites are a remnant of the house of Israel. This is going to become critical, where we have to know
who we're talking about.
We're talking about, and these different groups. Because if you misidentify these different groups, then you're going to read the entire Book of Mormon thinking that it's talking about somebody else.
Well, and just something that I wanted to pop out right here. You notice when Joe Smith put the title page in there, it says Lamanites, Jew, and Gentile. It did not say Jew and Joseph and Gentile. It right. Said Jew and Gentile. That's because, and I'm sure she's going to hit it harder, but the Gentiles, a lot of people have been offended when we say we are identified with the Gentiles. Oh no, we're Ephraim. Well, the truth of it is, by the definitions of the Book of Mormon, you can see right here in the title
which
page.
Which we're going to nail.
There's no thick Joseph in that. By that definition, it's Lamanites, Jew, and Gentile.
Right. And so the other thing that we need to realize here is that the title page is translated from the title page of the plates. So Joseph Smith said, I wish to mention here that the title page of the Book of Mormon is a literal translation taken from the very last leaf on the left-hand side of the collection of the Book of Plates. So again here, this is scripture. The title page is.
Right.
Okay. The language of the whole Book of Mormon running the same as all Hebrew writing in general, and that said title page is not by any means a modern composition either of mine or of any other man who has lived or does live in this generation. So again, this is a translation from Moroni, as in the opening pages of the Book of Mormon. All right, it says that it is written, the Book of Mormon itself is written by the spirit of prophecy. And I would propose that as we read through the Book of Mormon this year, that we understand that it is woven with prophecy on every page, in types and in shadows and in literary structures. And those will be some of the things that I hope to be able to point out a little bit that you might not be able to pick up from the other awesome sites that are out there that all kind of focus on a little different angle. Of course, we'll also be focusing on the Isaiah aspects of the Book of Mormon, and who's the house of Israel? Who are the Gentiles? This is critical to understand for all of the books of Scripture. All right, the second thing is, of course, what we just titled. The first question, what is a due time? Sealed by the hand of Moroni, the Book of Mormon was hid up unto the Lord to come forth in due time. And so often we read right over that and think, oh, when God's ready. And, maybe that's kind of true.
Or kind of just any old time.
But
very much a due time.
For a
Feast
lot
of
of
Trumpets.
Yeah, a lot of these prophecies, there is a specific time that these due time references are referring to, and we're going to look at some of those. And of course, we also are looking at the reason that it is to show unto the remnant, that remnant that we talked about up above, written to the Lamanites, who are a remnant of the house of Israel, to show unto the remnant that they may know that through the covenants of the Lord that they are not cast off forever. So it's going to be important to identify the Lamanites. It's going to be important, if we're going to understand by the spirit of prophecy what the Book of Mormon is saying, it's going to be important to identify the Jews and the Gentiles and what due times are. Because, everything seems to be based around these trigger points that are mentioned in the text. All right, so now we're going to go to Ether 5 because, again, as we do the introductory material in the Book of Mormon, we have the testimony of the 8 witnesses and the 3 witnesses. There are wonderful videos out there on this. I'm actually going to show you one. But let's start with the verses that talk about the witnesses. And now I, Moroni, having written the words which were commanded me according to my memory, and I have told you the things which I have sealed up. Therefore touch them not. So what sealed up things are we talking about right here? Moroni is prophetically speaking in the future to the one who's going to translate the plates. And he's saying, don't touch the part that I sealed up. Yeah. And it's very interesting, it says, because if you do, that thing is forbidden. You won't be able to translate. Don't touch them so that you will be able to translate. Except by and by, it will be in the wisdom of God. So already we're getting some clues of when the sealed portion is going to be unsealed. It's going to be a time in the wisdom of God. It's being sealed for a reason, and it's forbidden.
My guess,
go ahead,
is it tells so much that we shouldn't know yet. It's kind of like that portion that John was told, don't write about the thunders, don't.
Right, and we're going to read where John tells us, where we're told that as well. But the other thing that I believe is that when the sealed portion comes forth, that is a trigger point.
Sure.
That is a due time. And that brings judgment. When that much truth, it's like when Jesus came on the scene. When Jesus declared who he was, then judgment was, salvation or judgment was going to fall on Jerusalem, depending on what they chose. So it's a catalyst for a division and a choice if you look in the scriptures about that. All right, verse 2, and behold, ye may be privileged that you may show the plates unto those who will assist to bring forth this work, and unto 3 shall they be shown by the power of God. Joseph Smith was so excited when he translated that part, because then he knew he would not be standing alone anymore. And in the mouth of 3 witnesses shall these things be established. Now, if you, because all things have to be established by witnesses, but look here down at the bottom, it says, and all this shall stand as a testimony against the world in the last day. That's not just the witnesses. That's also the sealed part of the Book of Mormon will stand as a testimony against the world. So again, when that happens in the wisdom of God, it will be for a purpose, as a testimony. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with your witnesses here, your three witnesses. Of course, the one in blue here is David Whitmer. And we have Oliver Cowdery, Martin Harris, and then, of course, Joseph Smith was the additional one there. But there, excuse me, there were other witnesses as well. So let's take a look at them. Before we do that, though, I want to, in the context of the sealed part that Moroni was talking about, and the witness David Whitmer, and of course we could talk so much about how the witnesses, even though they might have floundered or been left the church, they never ever denied their testimony. These were men of integrity, and it especially David Whitmer in his honesty and his integrity. And so we have Orson Pratt and Joseph F. Smith interviewing David Whitmer in the Millennial Star in 1878, and they want to know what he knows about what did Joseph teach him, or
because he was so involved.
Right. What does he know about when the sealed portion is going to come forth? And that's what they're going to ask him here. Now, again, before we read what he said, I want you to look at the date. It's 1878. This is over 10 years after the Civil War. So this interview is taking place after the American Civil War. Where are the plates now? David Whitmer, in a cave where the angel has hidden them up till the time arrives when the plates, which are sealed, shall be translated. So that's the topic of the conversation. And then he says, God will yet raise up a mighty one who shall do his work till it is finished and Jesus comes again. So there's a mighty one that brings forth that sealed portion right before Jesus comes. Then they asked him, when will the temple be built at Independence? And he responded, right after the Great Tribulation is over. And they said, okay, please clarify. What do you mean by that? And then David Whitmer gives this very fascinating statement. A civil war, more bloody and cruel than the rebellion, the Civil War that they had 10 years ago, it will be a smashing up of this nation. So right out of the gate, we want to get a sense here.
This is not the previous Civil War.
And this is not another nation. This is a smashing up of our nation. About which time the second great work has to be done. A work like Joseph did, perhaps like translating the sealed portion, like he translated the first part, and the translation of the sealed plates, and peace all over. So again, this is before the second coming in the millennial reign. Will you live to see these things? And he said, it was said to us that the second great work should commence when nearly all the witnesses to the first plates had passed away. So I may live to see those things take place. So it's kind of interesting that there David Whitmer had hopes.
Assuming.
Yes, he had hopes of being. I think that there was a time period of the fullness of the Gentiles that they didn't even grasp. That, I mean, it's been almost 200 years.
It's common for us to not grasp in our own small box we're in most of the time.
Right. So we have the 3 witnesses that are shown the plates by an angel. They hear the voice. And then we have the 8 witnesses that Joseph Smith will actually allow them to handle the plates. And of course, all these witnesses will be in the front pages of the Book of Mormon. But we also have other witnesses. And in Scripture Central, there's a video number 455. That's one of my favorites. It's about the 4th witness. It's about Mary Whitmer, who also was given the opportunity because of her great sacrifice and to have a glimpse of the plates as well. So that's, again, like I said, there's so many resources about wonderful videos and things about this that we're going to move into some of the stuff that you might not be able to pick up in those places. All right, in the introduction, it's very interesting what Joseph Smith says in context of a due time, a specific time that the Book of Mormon was supposed to come forth. He says, do you want to read this one?
Made an attempt to take them out, but was forbidden by the messenger, and was again informed that the time for bringing them forth had not yet arrived.
The time for bringing them forth. There was a
Appointed
specific time, right?
But he told me that I should come to this place precisely a year from that time.
Okay, you skipped one little sentence there that's really important. That neither would that time come until 4 year later. I mean,
Right.
he's told exactly when it's going to come.
And that he would there meet with me, and I should continue to do so until the time should come for obtaining the plates. Accordingly, as I had been commanded, I went at the end of each year, and at each time I found the same messenger there. That's a fascinating statement I just thought about. The end of each year. That's obviously a Hebrew year we're talking.
He's got a bishop's interview going on here.
Yeah, this is at the end of each year.
And it was specifically
Hebrew
on
year.
September 22nd. We'll see that in just a second.
And they received instruction and intelligence from him at each of our interviews respecting what the Lord was going to do and how, in what manner his kingdom was to be conducted in the last days.
Just right here, just right out of the gate, it really bothers me that I've seen this today. We will marginalize what Joseph Smith said. Like he was wishy-washy about who the Lamanites were, or
Generalized.
you know, and we come up with our own ideas. And I am like, he was being instructed on how and what manner the kingdom was to be conducted in the last days, clear from 1823, over and over again, with fantastic information.
Well, you could even go back to 1820.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in September, it was September the 21st that Joseph prayed and was visited 3 times in the night by an angel named Moroni, who told him about the plates and quoted from the books of Acts, Joel, Isaiah, and Malachi. All right, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But it was the next day, on September the 22nd, in 1823, that Joseph would go to the plates, to the Hill Cumorah, and that see where the gold plates were concealed. But he was told not to retrieve them at that time. It was 4 years later, on September 22nd, he would go every year on September 22nd, that he would be allowed to take the plates from the Hill Cumorah. Now, because it's a due time, it's important for us to just really quickly know what the due times are. In September 20th to 26th of 1823, so you've got the 21st and the 22nd there, that would be right there in that time period between the 20th and the 26th. That was the Feast of Tabernacles in 1823. And the angel Moroni said, it's not time. You can't take them out yet. So he's going to go back on September the 22nd each year. Let's look and see, because we know that the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles are the appointed times that represent the second coming of Christ in the last days. And so, and these prophecies, all of these prophetic appointments actually play out many times through history and through prophecy. But we are going to take a look at specifically what was happening on September 22nd in 1823. There you have, in 1824, September 23rd was the Feast of Trumpets. So this was the day before the Feast of Trumpets in 1824. It wasn't the due time yet. In 1825, September the 13th was Feast of Trumpets. So it was like 9 days earlier. And then in September, in 1826, Feast of Trumpets didn't come clear into October. And so it wasn't the due time to take the plates out that year. But then in 1827, September 22nd, it was the Feast of Trumpets. And Moroni said, take them out now. When all of the trumpets were blowing in Israel, calling for the gathering of Israel, calling for repentance, and calling that the king is coming. So it was the perfect due time for the plates to come out of the hill. And we have so many times that Moroni is instructing the prophet Joseph Smith. So just looking at the due times, and if you want to see all of these charts gone through on our website, is a video called the Feast of Trumpets. And we actually go through all of these, but I just want to review really quickly that there was a 3-year ministry of Jesus Christ from the about 3 or 3.5 from the Day of Atonement to Passover when he was crucified. Then in the Book of Mormon, we have a 3-year period from when the time that the plates come out to the Passover when the church was restored in 1830. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling here. And then in the end time, there's prophecies regarding when the sealed portion comes out to Adam and Diamond when Israel is delivered. And again, you have to watch all the other videos to see all this. But I just wanted you to see it in Scripture. In Romans chapter 5, when you were without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly.
That word due time.
That word due time was Passover.
Link.
And it was pointed to by Daniel on several prophecies, a due time, a prophetically appointed time. In Ether chapter 3, he's told, and behold, the 2 stones, the Urim and the Thummim, or the Urim and Thummim, the way we say it, these 2 stones I will give thee, and you are to seal them up, and I will cause in my own due time that they will magnify the eyes of men. So the Urim and Thummim are to come forth in the due time. And then, of course, Enos chapter 1, he says, and I had faith and I did cry that God would preserve the records. And he covenanted with me that he would bring them forth unto the Lamanites in his own due time. So it's very important that this due time is recognized. In other scriptures, we have in D&C 35, and Israel will be saved in my own due time. So we have this grand reversal event prophesied in Isaiah, in this Adam and Diamond event, that by the keys which I have given shall they be led and no more be confounded at all. In D&C 136, Zion will be redeemed in mine own due time.
Could almost appointed time.
Right.
And the same words here.
And this is key. I mean, this is how Daniel's numbers work. They're the counting days between the appointed due times and years. All right, in D&C 56, this is the flip side of it. You have deliverance of Zion on the one side, but look at this. He that will not obey me will be cut off in mine own due time. So being cut off, Moroni tells Joseph Smith in Joseph Smith history that the time when the people will be cut off is not yet, but it will soon come. Okay? Being cut off is not just like being disfellowshipped or something like that. Being cut off is a destruction from the enemies in the scriptures. Read this one in Deuteronomy 32. It says, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot will slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that come upon them make haste. All right, this is where we were kind of headed with this, is to see that the sealed records 3 times, actually 4 times in the Book of Mormon, we are told that they will be coming out at a due time. And also, others who have been, to them he hath shown these things, and they have written them up and sealed them to come forth in their purity, according to the truth which is in the Lamb, in the own due time. So there's many books that will probably come forth at that time. For the book shall be sealed by the power of God, and the revelation which was sealed shall be kept in the book until
due time.
His own due time. Touch not the things, that's what Moroni just told Joseph Smith, I'll bring forth the Book of Mormon in mine own due time. And this is exactly what we read on the title page. It will come forth in the due time. And the Lord said, write these things and seal them up. I will show them in mine own due time to the children of men. All right, just a few more scriptures that we have, that the convincing of the Jews that Jesus is the very Christ is what will happen when the sealed portion comes forth. And all of these things are part of the restoration of the house of Israel.
Okay, you keep going. Sorry.
It's okay, I'll back up into that one. All right, the convincing of the Jews that Jesus is the very Christ, is the very Christ, is part of the purpose of the coming forth of the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. And it must needs be that the Gentiles be convinced that Jesus is the eternal God first. And so then he will manifest to every kindred, tongue, and people. And this is all part of the fulfilling of the covenant and the restoration of Israel. In 3 Nephi 5, yea, and surely shall he again bring a remnant of the seed of Joseph to the knowledge of the Lord their God. And this is again the strongest vow that can be made by God.
As the Lord liveth.
As surely as God lives, he will gather in from the four quarters of the earth all of the remnant of the seed of Jacob, or Israel, who are scattered abroad upon all the face of the earth. And as he hath covenanted with all the house of Jacob, even so shall the covenant wherewith he hath covenanted with the house of Jacob be fulfilled in what?
Due time.
In a due time, unto the restoring all the house of Israel to the knowledge of the covenant. And so the knowledge of that covenant is that they know their Redeemer. And as we're going to see shortly here, I will remember the covenant, and I will gather them in my due time, and I will give them the land of their fathers for their inheritance, which is the land of Jerusalem. And that is beginning to be fulfilled now.
Yeah, and
It's
ramping up.
Lifetime, it's ramping up. And the coming forth of the sealed portion is all part of this. And it shall come to pass that the time cometh when the fullness of my gospel will be preached unto them, that they will believe in me, that I am Jesus Christ. And they are watchmen, shall lift up their voice, and the Father will gather them together and give Jerusalem to the land of their inheritance. And there are scriptures as well that talk about the Lamanites being given, guess what? This land for their inheritance again.
Right.
So we're going to have to identify those Lamanites. We're going to have to figure out who gets the land and has it happened yet. Okay? And when Joseph, this is the blessing. This is Ephraim's patriarchal blessing in Genesis 48. And of course, you know the story. Jacob has his two grandsons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and Manasseh's older, and when he goes to give them their patriarchal blessing, he switches his hands, he crisscrosses them, right? And Joseph panics and says, Dad, you're mixing them up. And he says, not so. His father refused to change it back and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become, Manasseh shall also become a people, and he shall also be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater. This is Ephraim. And then Jacob says that he and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. That's the way it's translated in the King James. But in Hebrew, the word melo, that's translated multitude, also means fullness, or that which fills, a multitude. And goyim, the word that is translated nations, is actually in English the word Gentiles. So it means
Fullness
nations.
of the Gentiles.
So an alternate translation would be that Ephraim and his seeds will become the fullness of the Gentiles. That's going to become so important as Joseph Smith gives his testimony of the Book of Mormon and his experience with Moroni. Now in Ether chapter 4, he says, "Come unto me, O ye Gentiles, and I will show unto you the greater things, the knowledge of which is hid up because
Of unbelief.
of unbelief." And then he says, "Come, O ye house of Israel, and it shall be made manifest unto you how great things the Father hath laid up for you from the foundation of the world, and it has not come unto you because of unbelief." So what is this veil of unbelief? What is it that stops us from receiving the greater things? Because he promises us that if we will rend that veil of unbelief, the greater things will be shown to us. All right, so this is in Joseph Smith history, verses 36 through 41, where Moroni is teaching Joseph Smith, and he is reading from Elijah and Malachi and Isaiah and chapter 11 about the branch that's going to be grafted in the end time, and Acts, which is quoting Joel. And if you read Joel, the second chapter of Joel, the first part's not so pretty, but the last half is the good part. And all of these prophecies are pertaining to the last days, and we should read them, we should look them up and learn what Moroni taught Joseph Smith. But here's the part I wanted you to see. Moroni tells him that the fullness of the Gentiles,
Was soon.
the time of
coming.
Ephraim, was soon to come in, at the time that he was bringing the plates out of the hill, Cumorah. So that's going to lead us into the next segment, which is,
So with that,
who are
stay
the
tuned
Gentiles?
for our next chapter. And we just say, till next time.
And if you want to learn more about the due times, look at the video, Feast of Trumpets, on
Our website.
our website. Yep.
Thank you.